Hi guys, Harbs and Narbs here. Today we're going to be looking at some very strange and obscure lore that originates here. Earth. Yes, but believe it or not, Earth does exist in the Forgotten Realms, and this video is going to go over how that's even possible and what the lore is around it. Okay, let's go. This link between the Forgotten Realms and Earth goes back to the very beginning of the Forgotten Realms in D&D, when in the Forgotten Realms campaign set of 1984, Ed Greenwood wrote the following. The Forgotten Realms derive their name from the fictitious fact upon which play in my campaign is based, that a multiverse exists, of countless parallel coexisting prime material planes, including the world presented herein, our own modern Earth, and any other fantasy setting a DM may wish to incorporate in play. All related to the known planes of existence presented in the AD&D system. Travel betwixt these planes was once far more common than is the case now, when few know the means of reaching other worlds, or even believe in the existence of such fanciful places. Hence, the realms have been forgotten by beings of Earth. Our legends of dragons, vampires, and of other fearsome creatures and magic are due to this formerly widespread contact between the worlds. Most have of course become confused and distorted with the passage of time and many retellings. So basically when we say the Forgotten Realms, it is literally from the perspective of someone dwelling here on Earth. We can see in the Spelljammer supplement Realm Space 1991 that it is certainly still possible to travel between Toril and planet Earth. We can see that Elminster has a portal to Yellowstone National Park. The following is written. The third door opens to a unique, strange location. Here the trees are tall and proud. The woodland animals are plentiful, and the air is breathtakingly crisp and pure. The sun beats down through the morning haze with a kindness not found on Toril. This is none other than Wyoming's Yellowstone National Park in the year 1894. This is Elminster's favourite off-Toril location to rest and relax. This is also one of the locations where he purchases those strange German beers that his friend Gamelon from the Rock of Bral is always trying to buy from him. If you're worrying about the real world lore consistency of buying German beer in the United States during 1894, then don't worry, it checks out. Yes, I did have a brief look. The supplement continues with the following. The fourth door exposes the study and library of Ed Greenwood. This is the way in which Elminster has pestered him for the last 15 years, and to this day continues to hassle the poor man with his incredibly long stories and demands for more German beer. And can I use that hot water spout doohickey again? So, what was it like in the ancient times of abeir-toril? For this, we'll take a look at 1997 supplement Powers and Pantheons, which has a section about when all of the races started to arrive on the planet, most of whom came from other places, at the dawn of time. Now, it doesn't explicitly say Earth, but let's have a look at this. An influx from a land of desert governed by the seasonal pulse of a mighty river. Then an influx from two neighbouring lands, one a land of glory and empire, the other a patchwork of city-states and bold philosophies, whose pantheons reflected but did not precisely duplicate each other. The desert land governed by the seasonal pulse of a mighty river is clearly a reference to ancient Egypt, whereas the neighbouring lands refer to the Roman Empire and the Greek city-states, which is obvious through the patchwork of city-states and the bold philosophies. This is further emphasised by the fact that it says these two cultures had pantheons that reflected but did not precisely match each other. A good summary of both the Roman and Greek pantheons. Another ancient link to Earth can also be found in Powers and Pantheons in the section on the Mulhorandi and Unthoric pantheons. The Imaskery Empire was an ancient empire that ruled lands to the east of Faerun, and at their height of power they created many great portals in order to travel to other worlds so that they could enslave the populations of those worlds. Again, it is not explicitly said, but it is believed that the Imaskery went to Earth and enslaved many people there, bringing them back to abeir-toril. The reason for this mass enslavement was due to a plague that had ravaged the Imaskery people in the year -4370 DR. This enslavement was done to repopulate the Imaskery cities, which were under the strict rule of the Imaskran godless wizards, who refused to bow down to any deity. The people that were brought from this mysterious world by the Imaskery came from two different parts of the planet, as well as two different times. When they were taken back to abeir-toril, they married and had children with the Imaskery, and eventually the collective people came to be known as the Mulan. The Imaskery had rejected all gods, and therefore the slaves, now known as the Mulan, continued to worship their own deities, but their gods could not hear them. However, the overgod Ao did, and he allowed Ptah, one of the gods of these slaves, to move into abeir-toril's crystal sphere. Ptah could hear his people's prayers again, and he let the pantheons of Earth know what had happened to all their worshippers, and therefore they all shifted over to realm space at the behest of Ao. When the Mulan's gods entered realm space, they were significantly weaker than in their home realm, especially since the Imaskery rulers had created powerful barriers preventing the influence of any deity. The two pantheons of gods therefore sent avatars among the Mulan and motivated them to rise up and rebel against their Imaskery masters. Ra led the gods of what would become the Mulhorandi pantheon, and Enlil led the gods of what would become the Unther pantheon. Both Ra and Enlil are both gods that have existed in two different real-world cultures upon Earth. Ra is the ancient Egyptian god of the sun, and Enlil is the ancient Mesopotamian god of the wind, air and earth. As the years went on, the Mulhorandi and Unther pantheons only got weaker, as other more dominant deities caused problems for the two pantheons. In an event known as the War of the Gods in -1071 DR, the Orc pantheon led by Grumsh killed many of the gods in the Untheric pantheon. It was disasters like this, as well as the much later Time of Troubles, that cemented the pantheons of Unther and Mulhorand far down in the pecking order compared to the other human pantheon known as the Faerunian pantheon, which had started to dominate much of abeir-toril. In the present day, the Unther pantheon barely exists, as most of their gods have been decimated. Interestingly, the only surviving member of the Unther pantheon was the dragon goddess Tiamat. Yes, Tiamat was originally part of the Unther, but was always an enemy of the good gods of that pantheon. However, according to Powers and Pantheons, she was now operating to such a great extent within the sphere of influence of the Faerunian pantheon and outside of her Untheric persona that it seemed inevitable that she joined that pantheon by default. So, apart from the gods and Elminster, we can see some other smaller links to Earth. For example, in Dragon Magazine 211, Stephen E. Shend talks about his time with another chosen of Mystra called Leriel Silverhand, who visits him periodically in his office, much like Elminster visited Ed Greenwood. Stephen says the following about her visits. Besides, Leriel's presence meant news and information of the realms, which I dutifully send off to Dragon Magazine's readership. Ed Greenwood also confirmed via the Candlekeep forums during some lore questioning that foxes in Faerun originate from Earth after an intrepid adventurer called Altho Minstrelwish took them from France and introduced them into the realms. So yeah, I bet you didn't expect the video to finish on the origin of foxes. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this lore video, then do please give me a like and subscribe for more videos on obscure lore from the realms. I'll be taking a bit of a break for 5 or 6 days as I've been uploading videos very frequently lately, and I'm going to have a tiny break from it all, but I'll be back to making videos from next weekend. See you next time. Bye!